Oh, you did walk from the
Yeah,
station?
because
And I forgot to tell you, there's also the metro that you could have taken.
yeah, but I walk it's right.
It's okay. Yeah. But I did warn you, it's uphill the whole way, right? So, okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
To make a bit of exercise.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. Welcome to another edition of Getting Serious with Woody Wade. That's me, Woody Wade. And today I'm very happy to welcome here to Lausanne, Florence Schurch, who is the head of SUISSENÉGOCE, which is the association Geneva-based, which looks after the interests of the commodity trading industry, which is an enormous business, but kind of invisible in Geneva. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, and also how you came into this position, because your original trajectory was in a different area entirely. And I'm just looking over your bio, for example, and some things that jump out at me were that you basically began your career with the Swiss Federal Police in Bern. And then after September 11th, 2001, you were seconded to Washington, D.C., where you were acting as liaison with some of the law enforcement agencies in the U.S. I guess that must have had to do with counterterrorism or
Yes, not only.
Not only.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that. And then working with the Swiss embassy in Berlin, and then for a while actually in a special position where you were defending the interests of Geneva itself in the Swiss parliament in Bern, which was kind of another shift in a different direction. And then since 2020, you've been in charge of SUISSENÉGOCE. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what SUISSENÉGOCE does? We'll start there. We'll kind of work our way backwards. Okay. So tell us about the organization and what you do and what the organization is here for.
Yeah, thank you very much for this really nice introduction. Actually, SUISSENÉGOCE is the roof association of all companies active either in the commodity trading industry or in the banking industry to finance finance the commodity trading industry, and also other companies which gravitated around the commodities hub in Switzerland, such as law firm specialized in the commodity trading business, or brokers, insurances, etc., etc., and shipping companies, absolutely. Right. The goal of this association, well, it's like every economic association in Switzerland, is to defend the industry, to have contact with the authorities, to do lobby, to keep our framework conditions, and to continue that Switzerland remain an interesting destination for companies and an economic friendly environment. But it's also, we do as well education and training. That is very important for us because it's also one way to keep the hub in Switzerland. As you might imagine, since the war in Ukraine and the sanction taken against Russia, a lot of companies moved out of Switzerland to get their office in Dubai. So we had to be much more challenged. We were challenged by that, and we had to emphasize our education and training to really keep the workforce in Switzerland. And that's the reason companies are still coming to implement their office in Switzerland, because of the workforce, the know-how, the skilled employees here in Switzerland.
The talent is here.
Yeah, the talent is here. And finally, communication. Yeah. Because, as you said, commodity traders used to be very, I wouldn't say they were secretive, because actually they didn't see any reason to talk about their job, because they are doing their job and they are doing it very well, and no need to talk about that. But from nowadays, we realize, and especially since COVID, since the war in Ukraine, we realize that we really have to talk about our job. We have to be much more transparent, because we have nothing to hide. And we are always super happy to talk about commodity trading, because it's a passionate industry. And we learn every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Switzerland as a hub. So talk a little bit about that, because I know that it is a hub for commodity trading, but maybe you can put that in perspective for the listeners, for the viewers.
Well, the commodity trading companies, they are divided in about three areas, three sectors, I would say. So you have the agribusiness, so all agriculture, all cereals, coffee, cocoa, cotton. You have the energy sector, with energy coming from fossil fuels, but also energy of the transition and renewable energies. And then you have the metals and minerals sector, from ferrous metal and non-ferrous metal, which are now absolutely useful for the electric transition,
Right.
the energy transition, and to the electrifying of the society.
Not to mention, I guess, all the construction demand around the world, right?
Yes, that is more
Copper, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. So these three domains of the trading industry are located in Switzerland. I would say in Zug and Ticino you have more the metals industry. In Ticino also the gold refineries and the gold traders. And on the Lake
Geneva.
Lake Geneva region.
Sorry.
Lake Geneva region, you have more the soft commodities,
Yes.
cereals, coffee, cocoa, and the energy. Yes,
Okay.
they are more located in Geneva and Vaud,
Yeah.
and metals and minerals more in Ticino and Zug. Yeah.
But now, compared to the rest of the world, how much of the commodity trading is actually done in Switzerland, or does that statistic even exist? It really is a center for the world's
Yes.
business in this area, right?
Yes, it is a center, but not the only center, because as you know, commodity trading, you work worldwide and on every time difference.
Yes.
So in order to be able to work with Asia, for instance, you need to have offices in Singapore, for instance, which is the Asian hub of commodity trading. For sure, Dubai is a hub, and very important hub of commodity trading. Used to be London. Still, many companies have offices in London, and for sure for the energy, Houston is a very important hub. So I would say, with these 4 hubs, you cover the entire world. So it is very common, even for small SMEs. A company of 5 to 10 employees in Switzerland, they have 3-5 employees in Singapore, same in Dubai, and if they are in the energy business, also in Houston. So
Right.
yeah, like
You
that.
need a huge number of people to be in this business, right? You need a
Well,
terminal and a phone and connections, right?
yes, what is great to be able to work from Switzerland is because in the morning you have contact with your colleagues in Asia, and then in the afternoon you can cover the Americas,
Right.
Brazil, which is a big producing country, and the United States, etc. Yes, so we are in the middle of the
Right.
of the
And how
time
many
difference.
members do you have in this association?
We have about 200 companies. There are about 100 companies on the between Geneva and Vaud, and then I would say more or less 50-50 in Ticino and Zug.
And Zug, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so how did you come to this position, right? Because it's your background is different.
Yeah, well,
And people don't say, "Oh, I always had this love of trading, corn or something like that." That does. I mean, obviously, it was an opportunity for you, and it's a fantastic thing to do.
well,
But it's sort of different from what you were doing before. Tell us about that.
it is different, not really actually, because the I would say the field conductor has always been a lobby to defend something, or not someone, but
The interest
but
of
they are the interest of the general public, I would say.
I see.
Because when I was working for law enforcement, I loved this time. It was really great, and I was working with amazing people in Bern and also internationally. It was also, yes, it's like a mission that have all the police officers. It's really to keep the public safe.
Yes.
And it has this kind of a general interest, you know. And then I was posted in the US after September 11, and that was really to work on not only on terrorism, but also on organized crime, on money laundering, on human trafficking. And it's really to collaborate worldwide for the sake of the people and for the good, for the general interest. And then, so after, 11 years, I changed to work for the Canton of Geneva, to which I was doing lobby in Bern to defend the interest of the Canton of Geneva, you know, to make sure members of parliament in Bern, they raise their hands when there is funds or budget for the infrastructure or for the health system in Geneva or for different things, but that was always for the good of the general interest.
Right. Excuse me to interrupt, but how does that differ from the job of the elected people in Parliament from Geneva? Because they're also advocates for Geneva.
Yeah, they are the best ambassadors. Actually, they are the most important persons. And we were, as lobbyists for the Canton of Geneva, we were working with them, absolutely, preparing them. Yeah. Sometimes the dossier or so, we were always ready to support them in any case. There is a difference between being a decision maker or an elected person and being civil servant. Yep. Civil servant, we are working for our boss, who are the Conseil d'État. Yep. And members of parliament, they are working for political parties. And that's might have a bit of difference, even though we always had a very good collaboration with all of them, and they were always supporting the Canton of Geneva.
Yes.
Even though they have political positions which were different, but that's the game, I would say. And what we were doing, which was very important, and that the decision makers are not especially doing, is all the contact with the administration. With the different department and the administration, because actually the lobby starts much more before the dossier comes to parliament, you know. It's important. Yeah, it's important to work with the administration.
Right, exactly. Yes.
And especially in Switzerland, the administration is very powerful because they are the one drafting the laws and collecting the positions of all the stakeholders, and so it's really important to work with the administration. Right. Yeah.
Do you also help in drafting legislation?
No. That's the federal government which does that. However, the federal government always consults the different stakeholders. And if we were consulted as a Canton of Geneva, for sure we were raising our voice and saying what was important for the Canton of Geneva. Of course. And actually today I do the same, but for the commodity trading industry. So the job is not so much different.
No. You're an advocate, basically, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You have your clients, so to speak.
Yeah.
And what they need, you're able to kind of stress this vis-a-vis stakeholders, but also other people who might have some influence on their future, right?
Yes, and what is very interesting in Switzerland, and I guess that's also why Switzerland is very attractive for companies to locate in Switzerland, is because the authorities are very close to the business and to the economy. And the authorities are still trying to keep the framework condition to be very business oriented, right. And they have their open doors. And actually, they always consult the different economic association. Even though at the end it's a politics and they are the one deciding. Yeah. But at least they decide being informed of the consequences of their decisions. Right. And that makes Switzerland very, very attractive for business.
And that's where you come in, basically, is to make sure that they are informed, right? And
Yes,
understand.
absolutely. And they ask us, they consult us. If I take, for instance, the IMO, IMO is the International Maritime Organization. It's an international organization located in London. And actually, it's really the regulator for all the shipping industry. So, like, if you want, it's a bit like IATA for plane, for the aviation industry, and we have the IMO for the shipping industry. So the Switzerland has a seat because only the countries have a seat at the international organization, and SMEs is part of the Swiss delegation to the IMO. So when there are new regulation planned at the IMO, well, the Swiss government always consult the different stakeholders to know is it good for the industry or not.
Right.
So we are a few numbers of stakeholders that they consult. They don't consult only SMEs, and that is good because they need to have different points of view and different positions. But at least it gives the industry the possibility to raise our voice and to explain what would be good for our industry.
That's great.
But then the Federal Council decide which kind of politics they want to follow.
Right, and politics are always about compromise and what's possible, right? And
especially in Switzerland.
But especially the idea that you've been able to actually express these things to them in advance is really very, very important, obviously, for everyone. So tell us a little bit about how you yourself came to this job. That was 5 years ago. Now, almost 6, right?
Yeah, 5 years. Yeah, almost 6. Yes.
Where were you at that time? Was that where you were in Berlin? No, you were in Geneva.
No, I was in Geneva. I was working for the Conseil d'État in Geneva.
Right.
And actually, my predecessor left the association, and commodity traders, the association, they were looking for a new secretary general, and that's it.
And that's pretty simple. And there you were.
Yeah,
right.
But when I came at this position, I had no clue about commodity trading. Absolutely no clue. Okay. And that is the first. I had the chance to have a president at that time who was very interested to communicate and to make the industry more transparent.
Right.
And then the second president that I have is also in this position.
Right.
Because yes, when I arrived, I told them, well, I'm working for the canton of Geneva for 10 years, defending the economy in Bern. And every time I hear things on commodity trading, it's always challenging stories. And there are so many things that the commodity traders are doing by supplying the world with cereals. Everybody drinks their coffee every morning. Yep. But they have no clue where the coffee comes from. And without the commodity traders, no one could drink coffee, no one could wear cotton shirts, or no one could drive a car. And that is important for the general public to know that.
Right.
And it's not that this industry was secretive; it's just that they didn't see the need to communicate, because for them they were doing their job, and pretty well done, because we never had a lack of supply, or even during COVID. During COVID, we could buy all the food, we could drink all the coffee we wanted. So that means they've done a wonderful job.
Right.
And
there was not much disruption, not too much for.
Well, they were huge disruption, but the public haven't seen, was not aware of it. Well, maybe some
scrambling behind the scenes to
absolutely to make sure
the flow of coffee beans or whatever, right?
Absolutely, and then there were big disruption at the beginning, and still today with the war in Ukraine and all the sanctions taken. Sure. Against Russia, that was also a big disruption. And actually, in Switzerland, we still have heat in the winter. We were not freezing cold in houses, and thanks to the commodity traders, because without them, we would have been in trouble. Yeah.
Right. Can you, maybe just as a little footnote, but I think it'd be interesting to know how the commodity business in general kind of ended up in Switzerland, of all places. Is there a history there? Because this wasn't always the case, was it? This basically started here. Was it after World War II that they began?
Yes. So that is true. After World War II, the US, they always say we don't weaponize food. And it's also the case today. Russian cereals are not under sanctions.
Right.
So they have this position, we don't weaponize food. And it was the case during the Cold War, when actually it was in the other way around. Russia or USSR had just a few cereals, not enough to feed their population.
Right.
And actually the US was selling them corn and wheat especially.
I remember that.
Yeah, and that at that time in 1956, when the company Cargill came to Switzerland to continue to sell the USSR cereals under the roof of the UN. So that's why they came to Geneva. And then other American companies came to Switzerland to continue to make business with USSR. And that's what created I would say, the cereals hub in Geneva and Vaud, because we have now between Geneva and Vaud the 5 largest companies trading cereals.
Who are they?
We call them the ABCDs.
Okay.
So A for ADM, Archer Daniels Midland.
Right.
They are in Roll, and it's a huge American company.
Yep.
Then Bunge in Geneva is also American company. Then ABC, C for Cargill, and also Kofco, which is in Geneva, and they supply cereals for China. And then D for Louis Dreyfus.
Yeah.
They are also in Geneva, but in Canton Vaud you also have Olam, which is a big cereals company. It's a
Singaporean
supply of cereals for Singapore. Then recently arrived, you have Zenno, cereal supply for Japan. So you have great companies located in the Geneva-Vaud area. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Zug, as you mentioned before, is more for metals, right?
Zug is more for metals.
Right.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Can you tell us how that came to be?
Well, actually, the history says that it's thanks to Mark Rech, because I don't know if you've heard about this American citizen who flew the US to come to Switzerland.
Right.
And actually, he created the company, long story short,
Right.
he created the company, I would say the grandfather of Glencore and Trafigura.
Right.
And then having Glencore in Zug, then it multiplied for smaller metal companies. And then at that time they split between Glencore and they created Trafigura, and Trafigura moved to Geneva. Yes. Yeah.
It's interesting because it sounds like it just takes one player to see Switzerland at the beginning, right? One big player to see that this is the right place to be, and then others follow, right?
Yes, and that is the risk today. If one player leaves Switzerland, then the other might follow. That's why it's really important to have a close relation with the decision makers and to make sure the decision they make are still pro-business and not against the business. Yeah, it's very important, because from nowadays we live in a worldwide geopolitical situation. Well, I like the sentence of Churchill, who say the state, they don't have friends, they just have interests.
Right.
And today we are living in this kind of real politics.
Yeah.
And Switzerland is very good at keeping their interest and keeping their framework conditions for the economy.
Right.
That's important.
Right. Right. What do you see as potential areas of challenge then, or can you talk about that?
Well, taxes.
Taxes. Right.
Taxes is really important for companies.
Right.
because, as you know, we have very big turnovers, but it is not representing of the profit of the company because we have very small margin.
Yeah.
So we need to have huge turnover in order to make money.
Right.
And taxes are becoming very, very important, especially since OECD has this new
minimum,
the minimum tax of corporate tax for 15% worldwide. So
Where does that stand? Has that actually been accepted in Switzerland as
yes,
it's going to happen, or
unfortunately, we were one of the first country to apply it, and now we see more and more country which does not apply it, and that's make a kind of lack of competitiveness for Switzerland. That's why Switzerland really have to develop new ways to remain competitive.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And other challenge areas? That's the big one, I suppose.
That's a big one. That's the big. Well, there are many other challenges. Well, there's a smaller one, which is still big. It's all the new regulation passed now in Bern on liquidity and assets of the banks. You know, following
It's more to do with
on
money laundering.
No. It is, following
This is
the disparition of Credit Suisse.
Yes.
In Bern, they are passing new laws to stabilize the banking industry in Switzerland.
Okay.
And to make sure UBS will not follow Credit Suisse.
So this is about reserve requirements and things like that.
Reserve requirements, liquidity requirements, etc. And like it's easy to calculate. The more the banks keep liquidity or reserve in their banks, the less they can lend to the economy.
I see.
And
The more stable they are. So, of course, that's in the long run. That's also
yes and no, because Credit Suisse used to have a lot of liquidity at the beginning. It is just a lack of trust in the institution that make everybody taking their money out of the banks, and then, but the main thing is a credibility and the trust that the clients have in the bank, not the liquidity.
Right.
And that might be very dangerous for Switzerland if we regulate the bank system much more than on the international level, because then the Swiss banks are not competitive with their competitors anymore.
They're relatively over-regulated, but on the other hand, the regulations
you can delete the relatively. They are totally over-regulated compared to their competitors in EU, in Europe, in the US, in the UK. And it's really important that decision makers are aware of that.
Right.
No, it's an issue not only for the commodity trading industry, but also for the whole SMEs in Switzerland, all the economy, because to lend money will be much more expensive.
Yes.
And that's going to have huge impact for the SMEs and the economy. For sure, on commodity trading at the first row, I would say, because we are a huge consumer of liquidity.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine if we charter a ship full of cereals, for instance, it's about, depending of the price of the cereals, but it's about 60 millions.
Yes.
80 millions max, for instance. And if you imagine
for one trade, right? In other words,
for one shipment,
shipload,
one shipload.
Right.
So you imagine that
it has to be financed. Right.
Yes, and you can imagine an SME. Maybe they charter once a month.
Yep.
But imagine their turnover in a year, right. And the multinationals, they charter maybe 100 of a month.
Right.
So we need a lot of liquidity to finance the international trade.
Right.
And that's also the reason why in Switzerland, actually the commodity traders, they came in Switzerland as well, is because the financing of the trading industry was invented by Swiss banks. And actually, the banks, they got this expertise where they can finance a trade just for 3 weeks. or 6 weeks.
Right.
They can let a lot of huge money, millions, but just for 3 weeks. And actually, the banks is being reimbursed when the trader sell the commodity.
Yes.
And this way of working, it's very different that a normal SMEs or a normal company.
Right.
And that's why even SMEs in commodity trading, they need big liquidity.
Yeah. Yeah. This episode is brought to you by SwissQuote. In a world of economic uncertainty, having full visibility and control over your finances matters more than ever. SwissQuote is Switzerland's leading digital bank, combining everyday banking with advanced trading and investment solutions. So whether you're investing in stocks, ETFs, crypto, or just looking to actively manage your portfolio, SwissQuote offers powerful tools, transparent pricing, and the security of a fully regulated Swiss bank. Discover more now at SwissQuote.com. But now, back to the episode. Has that been a squeeze? Are you actually seeing that as an issue? I mean, I understand in principle what you're explaining here makes sense to keep an eye on it, right? But is it something that's actually...
It's a big issue for SMEs.
It is.
Because every new regulation you put either on the economy or on the financial system has huge impact on SMEs.
Right. On their
and yes, and we see nowadays that more and more multinationals buys SMEs, and there are less and less SMEs, and that is big. That is very problematic, because in Switzerland we are very proud of our SMEs. And unfortunately, by putting new regulation every time on the economy, that make the system being totally eroded and the SMEs disappearing. And in the commodity trading industry, we have a lot of family SMEs, companies which are active for 100 years.
Right.
And that is really sad to see these companies being very much challenged by the lack of financial institution, because the banks are more and more strict because of the FINMA putting new regulations, and unfortunately the banks are less and less able to finance SMEs, and that is a pity.
And are the regulators aware of this conundrum? They must be, right? I mean, but at the end of the day, they're still saying nope.
Yes, I don't know if they are aware of it. I guess so, because many associations are ringing the bell, even bank association. But I don't know. Maybe they are. In Switzerland, we rather prefer to be safe than to be pragmatic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, the regulations are there to provide security for all parties, right? But you can do that, it's true, in a way that actually reduces your flexibility, and for some small players, that maybe is enough.
Yeah, and especially to keep the level playing fields.
Right.
Because if you regulate Swiss banks, and in EU they don't regulate as much, and in UK and in US, then the level, Swiss banks, they don't have the same level playing field, and that is problematic.
Yeah. Is there any good news?
Well, the good news is we can inform the decision makers on the consequences, but then it's going to be their responsibility to take the risk.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. How much do you think that they actually understand about the risks? I mean, I myself have probably never met a regulator in my life that I know of, but I'm just wondering, if your job is to regulate an industry, you would think that you would absolutely have to understand the economics of the industry to know what the impact would be of every little, detail that you're going to change in a new regulation.
Well, it is still the case in Switzerland. Actually, we see that in Europe, in the EU. We see that the EU is making a lot of regulations, directives, and laws, and you name it. And they have no clue what is the impact on the industry and on the population. And I think it's very dangerous. We see that, for instance, with EUDR. The EUDR is the European Directive on Deforestation.
Deforestation.
So we all agree that we have to stop deforestation. That is for sure.
Right.
But you have different ways to reach this goal. And if you want, first you have to understand why a producer or a farmer in Africa, for instance, why he's deforesting. Actually, he's deforesting because the farm that he has, he cannot feed his family. So our position is mostly to support him, to find new fertilizers, to support him to change his trees, to support him to accompany him by being able to live out of his field.
Right.
Whereas the European Union is more like, okay, you are forbidden to deforest, so you're going to provide satellite photos of your fields. And then if you see that you deforest, we will not buy you your coffee or your cocoa and so on.
I see.
And that provoked a huge problem because this producer, they are not able to provide photo satellite of their fields.
Oh, right, of course.
And then we see nowadays that this regulation was supposed to enter into force in 2025. It has been postponed to 2026. Now we receive the news that 2026, it's still postponed. And that creates a huge problem for us because all the Swiss traders, they were ready in 25. And they invest huge money to make sure they can be
Compliance.
in compliance with this new EU regulation.
Yes.
And we are.
Yes.
But we invest money. And now the EU say, oh no, we postpone a year and another year. And what do we do with all this investment? And actually, it's not fair for other companies which were not compliant and didn't care about all this new regulation. And actually, they were right because the regulation are
rewarded for not complying, right?
Yes, absolutely. And that is really problematic.
Yeah.
And if the EU would have thought that before, how to implement all that, maybe they would have realized that is huge money to invest. Now we are talking about hundreds of thousands of Swiss francs just for SMEs of 5 employees. And for multinationals, we can reach 2 to 5 millions of investment to make sure we are compliant with this new regulation. We are not talking about 10 francs. So that is problematic. So we are super happy of the Swiss government, which has more an approach of the wait and see. Wait and see how EU is doing, and then we will see if we do this regulation as well or not. And we realize today that the EU is totally going backwards of what their intention was. They postponed the EUDR. They empty the directive on the due diligence directive. So we realize that EU, when it's the time to apply the regulation to the economy, all countries are going backwards because they know it kills their economy if they apply this regulation.
Right.
Oh, yeah, we see that, absolutely. But you
sometimes they only see it after it's happening then, right?
Yeah, well, you see the situation of the European economy nowadays. You know, the car industry in Germany, the different industry in France, and so the economy is doing very bad.
Regulations are doing
It's
that.
over-regulated, and the companies, they cannot work anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've heard that one of the most important things is the predictability of regulation, right?
As well,
it's okay if regulation is tough.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody really wants it to be too tough, obviously.
Yeah.
But at least if you know exactly what the situation is going to be and it's fair for everyone, and it's like, okay, these are the new rules, we have to play by them. But it sounds to me like they're, if you make the rules and then decide, no, actually, no, maybe we won't enforce that for a while. And what do you mean? We just.
But that's exactly what happened with the UDR.
Yeah.
The predictability, because we were ready for 2025, for January 1st, 2025. Right. And then they say, oh no, we postpone. And then now we don't know anymore,
Exactly.
And we invest money in that. And actually, which makes coffee, cocoa, and all that more expensive.
Oh, I see.
But
Right,
then
Florence.
today they backwards. So then the brands to which we sell our cocoa and coffee, they say they don't want to pay the investment
Nice. Yeah.
because the regulation are not in place.
Sure. Sure.
And the predictability is,
Sure. The only strategic option makes sense is wait and see, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. So everybody sits on their hands.
So
and
thanks
just wait.
to Switzerland, to the visionary of the Federal Council to have followed the wait and see situation.
Well, I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a smart thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in a way, these companies that you mentioned were punished for actually following the rules.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too soon, right?
Yeah,
Before
absolutely.
they actually found out that they didn't necessarily need to yet.
Yeah.
Right.
So hopefully next time we will follow the wait and see situation and yeah.
And what role does SUISSENÉGOCE play in lobbying vis-a-vis the EU?
Oh, none.
None whatsoever.
No, we don't
Indirectly,
lobby.
though. Indirectly.
Not even indirectly.
Okay.
No, we are really a Swiss association.
Okay.
To be member of our association, you have to have an office in Switzerland.
Okay.
And we have contact only with the Swiss authorities. You know, at the EU level, there are many other associations.
Yes.
There is no SUISSENÉGOCE association, but they are more sectorials. You know, you have the International Cocoa Platform, you have the cotton industry.
Each individual lobbying organization.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I just wondered if maybe you play a role in informing them about the situation here, but
well,
sounds...
you're right. That would be interesting because very often Switzerland take over EU regulations.
Yeah, right.
So that's true.
But not always, right?
Yes, not always.
No,
by
Switzerland's
chance.
very free to decide yes or no.
Yeah, by chance, because that's why we still have an economy working.
Yeah,
in Switzerland.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Independence.
Yeah, independent.
Yeah. Let's hope that stays the same for a long time.
Yeah.
That's a predictable thing here.
Yeah.
Now, something that you said earlier reminded me that it was about the sort of you used the word secretive, but it's more just kind of it's not secretive. Secretive to me means, I think, that you're actually trying to keep something hidden, right?
No,
but I think it's not that. It's more that they just are not blowing their own horn publicly, right? Or have not been, the commodity traders here.
Yeah.
And yet, I think it must have been Glencore that I read this about, that for a lot of people, if you ask them, what's the biggest company in Switzerland, they instantly say Nestle, right? Because it was for a long time, and I think, in their minds it still is. But in fact, a couple of these commodity trading companies are much bigger than Nestle, aren't they?
Well, it depends if you count the employees or the turnover.
Oh, no, turnover. I'm not talking about
turnover.
Oh, yeah. I was
Okay,
about to say, yeah, right. I'm talking about in revenue terms, right? Yeah.
But the turnover is not really representative of the size of the company because, as I said before, we have SMEs of 10 to 20 employees,
Right.
and they have turnover overpassing the billion Swiss francs.
Per employee, they just have is like the biggest by far.
Because as I said, they charter one serial ship a month. It's 80 millions.
Yeah, right.
So you multiply by 12, and you are almost over the billion.
Yeah, sure.
So it's not representative of the profit and of the size of the company.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas Nestle, because you were talking about Nestle, they have a huge turnover, but they also have a lot of employees.
Well, yeah, and also thousands and thousands of different products, and they're involved in what you do in the sense that they buy cocoa, buy coffee.
They are our clients.
They're a client, exactly. But this had to do. The reason I brought that up is because some of the names of the commodity traders were not generally known by the man on the street,
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas everyone here in Switzerland knows about Nestle, for example, right? And so these companies, as big as they are, just kind of were a little bit under working under the surface a little bit of people's awareness, right? So is part of what you do, it's about awareness building, right?
Yes, because people, they don't know us because we are not a brand.
Right.
Brand,
right? You're many different brands.
Yes. For instance, I have companies selling their coffee to Nespresso, for instance.
Right.
So there is one origin of Nespresso, which is 100% provided or supplied by one small SME in Switzerland. But since this SME is not a brand, we know the Nespresso origin. I don't know if it's India, Indonesia, Nicaragua or so. So everybody knows Nespresso, but no one knows the company which provides or supplies the coffee for this origin of Nespresso. So, and same for energy, for instance. Everybody knows Tamoil or Shell or Eni or so, BP, because we see them, we see their name at the tank station, you know. But no one knows the name of the trading company, which provides the gas, the LNG, or the fossil fuel for cars, because they are not a brand.
Yeah.
And it is more difficult to communicate or to attract the interest of the general public when you talk about an industry than when you talk about a brand, a name of the brand.
And that must be a bit of a challenge for you, because you want to represent their interests, but their interests are also affected by public opinion, and to some extent, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Well, public opinion, until nowadays, I would say until 2020, public opinion was totally framed by NGOs. Because for NGOs, it's very easy. It's very easy to say big things and not to be able to prove them or things like that. And then the commodity trading industry was not talkative at all, and didn't see the point to defend, because as soon as you try to defend yourself, some of them, they were thinking that shows that we might be guilty, and I
just
think
because you're defending yourself,
just because you are defending
your interest,
yes,
right? Therefore,
and
something to hide, or you're
yeah. But so they prefer not to argue, and because they were not doing something wrong, so they were thinking, why should we justify ourselves?
Right.
But I think the world has changed.
Yes.
With social media, with the COVID, which changed the position and the thought of the people, and especially the young generations. And that when it came important to communicate much more. Because and then with the war in Ukraine, and we see the rise of prices for energy, for the regular supply, suddenly things were more expensive, and we didn't understand why. And suddenly the Swiss people realized that we don't have coffee trees in Le Gros de Vaud. And that their coffee come from far than what they thought. And that's when it was time for us to communicate and to explain what is the supply chain, how does it work, how it is financed, and how much risks the commodity traders are taking. And what is the huge impact of climate change on our industry. And we follow climate change for 20 years. We are totally aware of climate change for the last 20 years because it has a huge impact on the cereals, on the shipping also, because we see more and more hurricanes in the middle of the Atlantic, for instance, which has a big impact on our vessels, because they have to change their route. And sometimes it takes 2, 3, 4 more days. It has a huge impact on insurances, on the seafarers, on the banks, because we're going to reimburse the banks with 3 or 4 days later. So everything has a huge impact.
Right.
So we see that for a long time. We are also very much impacted by geopolitics. And, with the Houthi in the Red Seas, then the commodity traders has to decide where do we go. And they work in collaboration with the captain of the ship to see, shall we go through the Suez Canal? and to the Red Sea with the Houthis, or shall we go to the Cape of Good Hope, which means that it's 3 more weeks of navigation. So all that is work in collaboration with the captain of the boat and with the insurances and with the banks.
Right.
And
This huge network, and one decision affects all kinds of different organizations.
affect everything. Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
You know, my former president always say to explain the industry, and I think it's a great example. He always say, the coffee or cocoa producers, they want to sell their coffee or their cocoa when the price is high and when there is the arches.
Right.
Whereas Nespresso and Starbucks, for instance, they want to buy the coffee or cocoa when the price is low.
Right.
And they need it all year long.
Right.
Not only when there is the harvest.
Yes. Right. Right.
So then between both of them, then you have the commodity traders. And the commodity traders, they are the one who takes the risks, who finance everything, who deliver
Yes. Right.
in the right currency
going
and
right.
facilitate all the supply.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you want to know more, please come and follow our courses on fundamentals of commodity trading.
Sounds interesting. Now, tell us about this educational opportunity that you've developed. So it's you. We were mentioning this before we actually started the cameras rolling here. But you were talking about this is some kind of a master's degree or master's program, right?
Well, we have different training courses. So we collaborate with the University of Geneva on the master degree, which is a great master because it's really play and plug. Because the student, in order to be accepted, they have to have an internship in a company. So Monday to Thursday, they are working in a company. And then Fridays and Saturdays, they are studying at the university.
Okay.
Then the university also give a CAS and a DAS, so a Certificate of Advanced Studies and a Diploma of Advanced Studies in commodity trading.
Okay. And the master is the master in
Commodity trading, yes. Yeah, it's really specialized in commodity trading. And then SUISSENÉGOCE ourselves, we give also education for adults. We are labelized Educa, which is a Swiss label for adult education.
Right.
And we give 2 certificates, the operator certificate and the market risk analyst certificate. These 2 certificates last for 3 months. The classes are 2 evenings a week because the teachers come from the industry.
Yes.
So during the day they work
Right.
and the evening they teach.
Right.
And
Very practical.
it's very practical. And actually, it's I'm very proud because our training are very well recognized and well known in the industry. For the students who have a course and the certificate of SUISSENÉGOCE Academy, it has a very good reputation within the industry. It's very well known.
Yeah.
And actually 75% of our students, if they didn't have a job by doing our education, then they have a job afterwards.
Yeah,
so it's a good rate. Yes, we are very proud.
That's another sign of just the talent availability.
Absolutely.
Here,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Every industry that we've talked to, it has that same experience, but here's something very specialized just to make sure that
and since we are very close to the industry and we have a lot of contact with the industry, they are giving us feedback on how the courses shall evolve. And like since last year, actually we're going to give the second intake. Since last year, we launched the course on hedging. It's a financial instrument to cover the risks.
Okay. What's it called?
Hedging and derivatives.
I heard
yeah.
aging.
Sorry, hedging.
Hedging. No, I understand now. Sorry. I thought, An aging course.
No,
I could probably take one of those, actually.
no, hedging. And we gave the first intake last fall, and we're going to give 3 intakes, 2 the first semesters and the second and a third in the second semesters. So that's also for specialized to the industry. And we have one course which is very interesting for the public, which is called the Fundamentals of Commodity Trading. It's a 2 days course. And actually, we have a lot of journalists and different stakeholders taking this class because you don't need any background in commodity trading. Is really to be informed on what is commodity trading.
Right.
And we have support functions from commodity traders taking this course, you know, the HR, IT, assistant also, and everyone working in the commodity trading industry but not being a trader. They take this course, and also a member, we have a member of the administration, civil servant taking this course.
You need to market that course up in Brussels, perhaps, right?
Perhaps, yes, you're right. We should.
Yeah. But that's
Absolutely.
fantastic because, I mean, looking after an industry is more than just making sure that the regulators know what's going on, but it's about talent development, and especially this network. You know, as you said, there are so many players, so many stakeholders.
Absolutely.
They're all impacted by by one small thing here, and it ripples throughout the entire pond in a way, right?
Yeah, that's why we call it the Swiss hub.
This was exactly
Because it's really has a lot of impact with many other industries, you know.
For sure. For sure. Well, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us today. And I've learned an awful lot about this really fascinating industry that, as I mentioned, is kind of, swims a little bit below the surface. So you don't always know that it's there. But
we are always ready to talk about it.
Yeah.
So now I refuse to receive the criticism of non-transparent because I would be happy to
absolutely
talk about that.
Well, this is part of that effort, I guess.
Yeah, thank you
So we
very much.
appreciate it, and thank you so much for your time today, Florence. I really appreciate you coming.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ça va,
Parfait.
Yes.
Let me do the introduction here. Sometimes we do this at the end,
Okay.
the conversation. But since we've got a little bit of a break, I can start.